This recording of This Video Does Not Exist, written by Nicholas Royle, appears here with permission from the author. All rights reserved. It is available in the collection The Dummy and Other Uncanny Stories, published by Swan River Press, 2018. See the accompanying description for a website link. Reading by Jeff Clark. This Video Does Not Exist, by Nicholas Royle. I wake up 2 minutes before the alarm is due to go off. I cancel the alarm and lie still for a few moments, trying to remember my dreams, with limited success. All I can sense is a vague feeling of loss or nostalgia. In a moment my wife will stir and I will climb out of bed and open the curtains. The Manchester skies are gray, I say as I look outside. How many times have I said these words upon opening the curtains? When does a running joke become an annoying habit? I suspect I will not find out until one day when, instead of sleepily murmuring some benign response, my wife will retort, "We made the decision together to leave London. You know that as well as I do." Or, "It's been 3 years now. Can you not leave it alone?" I forestall the possibility of this happening today by asking her, "Would you like some tea?" "Yes, please," says a voice from under the duvet. I leave the bedroom. I enter the bathroom and open the window blind. The Manchester skies are gray at the rear of the house as well. I wonder what the weather is like in London. I imagine a version of myself opening curtains and blinds in London right now and reporting to a version of my wife that the London skies are blue. I feel certain that if I check the weather online, it will be 2 degrees cooler in Manchester than in London. I use the toilet, then move to the sink. I lean on the edge of the wash basin, staring at the spotless white porcelain beneath my hands. How many mornings have I done what I'm about to do? How many mornings have I raised my head to see the same reflection looking back at me? How many mornings have I thought that I am looking old, that I may be closer to the end of my life than its beginning? This morning, however, is different. This morning I do not look older, but I do look as if the end of my life is upon me. The man in the mirror is wearing the same crumpled t-shirt that I am wearing, although the writing across the chest is back to front as you would expect. The arms are the same, lightly tanned, freckled. The neck is the same slightly scrawny neck that makes me look my age in photographs. But above the neck, nothing. No tired eyes, lined forehead, stubbly cheeks. No vertical frown line above the bridge of the nose. Nothing. I look at my neck, but I can't see the end of it. There is no stump. Neither a flat cartoonish disc like the end of a ham, nor the scraggy, gory mess of a victim in a splatter movie. Instead, it is like a tall building, its top lost in the clouds. I just can't see it. I raise my hands. I see them rise in the mirror, but there is nothing for them to alight on. No puffy skin beneath my eyes, no incipient jowls. I cannot feel the stubble on the top of my head, which I shaved only 2 days ago. The top of my head is not there. My head is not there. The man in the mirror has no head. I turn from the wash basin and look out of the window. The sky remains gray. I look back in the mirror. I still have no head. I step away, turn around, walk towards the door, then come back to the wash basin and look in the mirror again. No change. With my fingers I try to feel where my neck ends, but I can't seem to gain purchase. Any sensation in my fingertips is weak. I don't know where or how my neck ends, but I know that it ends and that there is nothing above it. I pause in the bathroom doorway. My wife is waiting for her tea. She will not wake fully until I bring it to her. I step out onto the carpeted landing. I can walk normally. I can see, even though I have no eyes to see with. I can hear birds singing in the trees at the front of the house. A slightly sour smell of bedding rises from my t-shirt as I head towards the stairs. I walk downstairs, my sense of balance unaffected. I enter the kitchen, fill the kettle, and switch it on. Every morning, I start emptying the dishwasher while the kettle is boiling and complete the job while the tea is brewing. As I bend down to remove the cutlery basket, I ask myself if bending down feels any different. Sometimes I bend down too quickly, and once I have straightened up again, I feel lightheaded. This time, that doesn't happen. I carry 2 cups of tea upstairs. I stand in front of the bedroom door as I remember approaching a road junction on my bike a day or 2 ago and not seeing a car that was coming towards me because I was so intent on looking left and right. I saw it in time, but I had for a few moments been blind to it. I wonder if what I am experiencing now is a form of hysterical or selective blindness. I ask myself if I should place the cups of tea down on top of the bookcase on the landing and return to the mirror in the bathroom and have another look. But as I think this, I hear my wife getting out of bed and suddenly the bedroom door is open and she is standing in front of me. "Oh," she says, giving a little jump. "You frightened me." "Really?" I say. "Yes, I didn't know you were there." "Thank you," she says, taking one of the cups and moving past me to go to the bathroom. Did she actually look at me? I can't be sure. I enter the bedroom and check in the full-length mirror my wife uses when she is getting dressed. There is no change. If I were more detached from the situation, I would find it interesting. It would thrill me on a number of levels, aesthetic, visceral, intellectual, but it's hard to be detached. My wife re-enters the bedroom and starts to get things out of her chest of drawers. She glances at me standing in front of the mirror and makes a humorous remark. I ignore it and ask her, "Do I look tired to you? Did you go to bed late? Just look at me. Do I look tired to you?" She turns and looks at me for a moment. "There's no need to snap," she says. "You look neither tired nor not tired." "Thanks," I say. "That's very helpful." "Are you going to drink that?" she asks, lowering her eyes to the cup of tea I am still holding in my hand. "Yes," I say. "No, I don't know." I leave the bedroom with the cup of tea and pour it away down the sink in the bathroom. "I'm going to have a shower," I shout. "I'll be gone when you're done," my wife shouts back. "So I'll see you later." "Okay, see you later." I lock the bathroom door and look at myself in the mirror. No change. I run the shower and wait until I hear the front door before switching it off. I return to the bedroom and start getting dressed, leaving my top half until last. I open my wardrobe and consider the separate piles of neatly folded t-shirts sorted by color. I pick out a black one. Downstairs, I pull on my fluorescent jacket and zip it up. I open the cupboard where the rest of my cycling paraphernalia is kept and look at my helmet. I reach out and touch the cool plastic with a fingertip, but then withdraw my hand and close the cupboard door. Cycling down our road, I feel the wind on my face like pain in a phantom limb. I cut through the park, where dog walkers take hold of their animals' collars at my approach and joggers carry water bottles shaped like bagels. Everything is normal, in other words. Exiting the park, I notice a woman waiting to cross the road. I nod to indicate she can go, and she does, raising a hand in thanks. I reach the university and find that someone has saved me the trouble of opening the door to the bike shelter. A colleague whose name I can never remember is struggling to get his bike past those nearest the door. One of us comments on the inadequacy of the bike shelter's design, and the other agrees. We lock up our bikes and leave, and so enter the building at the same time. He presses the button for the lift, and when it arrives and the doors slide open, he gestures for me to go first. In the mirrored walls of the elevator, I see an endless series of reflections of a headless man in a fluorescent jacket. "Departmental meeting in half an hour," says my colleague. "Yeah," I say. I'm counting the minutes. In the meeting, I sit next to Andy. Like me, Andy teaches film. I can see us reflected in the windows across the room. "Andy," I say, You'd tell me if I had, egg on my chin or something, right? Andy turns to look at me, leaning back as he does so. What are you trying to say? Do I look normal to you? Define normal. Right, I say. I hope this doesn't go on for 4 hours like the last time, he says. I'm going to that London tomorrow and I've got a ton of marking to get done before then. Tell me about it. What you going to that London for? Externals meeting at Birkbeck. Lucky you. Birkbeck? London, I say. I mean Birkbeck as well, but, just London. The meeting proceeds along the usual lines. Every time we seem to have reached, if not a decision, then at least the end of the latest pointless discussion on a particular topic, one person, always the same person, will raise her hand and make a point that invariably starts with the words, I'm sorry, but, and prompts further inconclusive debate, meaning that the end of the meeting is delayed by another 10 or 15 minutes. We are on the last item on the agenda, safety and environment, and a heated discussion about evacuation procedures for wheelchair users has just reached a sort of conclusion when a colleague, the same colleague, sticks her hand up and starts, I'm sorry, but, and I turn to Andy, who was already turning to me and drawing the blade of his right hand across his throat. The gesture makes me widen my eyes, but if Andy notices, he fails to react. After the meeting, I sit in my office with a pile of dissertations on the desk in front of me. I open the top one and turn to the first page, read the opening paragraph, and see that the writer has failed to make correct use of the semicolon. I close the dissertation. There's a knock on the door. I look around, sit up straight in my chair, aware of a slight increase in my heart rate. Come in, I hear myself say. The door opens to reveal a third-year undergraduate, Rebecca, whose dissertation I remember supervising. Hiya, she says. I wanted to see you to talk about doing an M.A. Come in, I say. Sit down. I move the dissertations to one side of my desk. I imagine yours is in this lot somewhere, I tell her. She smiles. So, you want to do an M.A.? That's great news. In London, she says. Oh. At Goldsmiths or UCL or somewhere. I wanted to see if you thought that would be a good idea. I look at her. She is one of those students my wife thought I would be tempted to have an affair with, or tempted to try to have an affair with. Bright, attractive, a good critic, potentially susceptible to flattery from a widely published academic. She raises her eyebrows. The corners of her mouth turn up. No, I think it's a terrible idea, I say, watching her face fall, then leave it a couple of moments before adding, I think you should do it here. She laughs. I really want to live in London, she says. I look away at a line of DVDs standing between bookends on my desk. Apocalypse Now, The Tenant, Eraserhead, Seven. Actually, I think it's a great idea, I say, turning back towards Rebecca. I'll write you a reference. I did the same thing myself 25 years ago. As I say it, I realize the figure is actually closer to 30. It was when I saw all these for the first time, I add, indicating the films on my desk. Well, apart from Seven. That's great, thanks, she says, looking straight into my eyes. You're welcome. There is a pause. I often fill such pauses, feeling it is unfair to expect students to do so, but on this occasion I say nothing. So, she says finally, do you think I'll get on? To one of those courses? Oh yes, you can punctuate a sentence. She laughs uncertainly, pauses, and then says, Is that it? I can punctuate a sentence? You'd be surprised how unusual that makes you these days, I say. But luckily that's not all. You're one of the good ones. You're one of the ones I come in for. One of the ones I get up in the morning for. Thank you, she says. I think. Rebecca, I say. Yes. Do I look any different to you today? It's all right. You don't have to answer that. I lift my hand, instinct or habit making me want to run it over my shaved head. Instead, it hovers in midair. Rebecca gets up. Thanks again, she says. You're welcome. Good luck. Put me down for those references, I say as she opens the door and leaves my office. I watch the corridor through the doorway since she has left the door open. A couple of first-year students pass by. I turn again to the pile of dissertations on my desk and look through them for Rebecca's. I pull it out, turn to the first page and read the opening paragraph, then close it and write on the mark sheet, 80%. I get my stuff together, thread my arms into my fluorescent jacket, and pause with my hand on the door handle. I look back. I return to my desk and go through the dissertations until I find the first one I'd been looking at, the one with the faulty punctuation. I write on the mark sheet, 50%. I cycle home, where I go straight upstairs and stand in front of the bathroom mirror. I try to focus on my neck. I want to examine the extremity, but every time I get close to doing so, I find my mind drifting from the specific task in hand to my more general preoccupation with the overall problem, or absence. I get a hand mirror and hold it behind me, picturing as I do so a well-known Magritte painting of a man viewed from behind looking into a mirror, not at the reflection of his face, but at the back of his own head. This is what I should see in the reflected hand mirror, the back of my head, but I don't. If anything, this confirmation that my head is missing when viewed from behind, as well as from in front, is even more dismaying than the original sight in the mirror that morning, perhaps because I am mimicking the view that others have of me from behind, without my knowledge, without my ability to be aware, without any self-consciousness. But instead, I wonder if it should encourage me that other people, my wife, strangers in the street, my colleagues and students, see nothing wrong, or nothing different from normal. I have wandered out of the bathroom and now find myself in the bedroom, standing at the window looking down into the street. A neighbor from a few doors down walks past with her dogs and looks up and waves. I wave back. She sees nothing amiss. Can she not see? Is it that she is not looking at me properly? I realize that I ought to be reminded of a different Magritte painting, in which a dead woman lies on a red couch, her head and neck at an unnatural angle to her body, a white scarf obscuring the conjunction of neck and torso. I take my phone out of my pocket and open the address book. I find the number for the local GP surgery and my finger hovers over the call button for a moment. I look out of the window, see my neighbor turning the corner at the end of the street with her dogs. I press the button. A couple of rings and then the recorded voice of the practice manager. I know the spiel. I press the appropriate key to get through to make an appointment. The receptionist offers me an appointment in a week's time. I tell her I don't necessarily have to see my own doctor. I'll see one of the others. She says I can see one of the other doctors in 3 days' time. I tell her I need to see someone today. She asks if it is an urgent matter. I pause for a moment, then tell her yes, it is. She asks if I can explain what the problem is. I remain silent for a few seconds, thinking. She says my name, asks if I am still there. I tell her I can't tell her what the problem is. It's personal. She says she understands and that I should come down to the surgery and they will fit me in as soon as they can. I walk down the road and enter the surgery. I see the receptionist and then sit in the waiting room and watch a procession of people with heads on their shoulders getting called to see the doctor before I do. Finally, I hear my name. I get up and leave the waiting room. As I turn into the corridor that leads to the consulting rooms, I catch sight of my reflection in a pane of reinforced glass in the door that leads to the stairs. There is the same empty space where my head should be and, I presume, used to be. Is it possible I never had a head, but only hallucinated it? What kind of question is that to be asking yourself as you knock on your GP's door and hear her invite you to enter? "Good morning, doctor," I say. "How are you?" "Very well, thank you," she says, meeting my gaze. "How are you?" I think carefully about my response. "I'm not sure," I say finally. "I suppose I want you to tell me." "Well," she says, "you requested an emergency appointment." "Yes," I say. The doctor looks at me. Her face betrays neither surprise nor dismay, nor the slightly indecent excitement a doctor might feel when presented with an unusual case. "I feel," I say, "like something is missing." The doctor smiles and frowns at the same time. "From your life? Something is missing, and I feel as if I can't carry on without it. And yet it's very hard to say what it is that's missing. Do you see?" "Have you been feeling depressed?" she asks. "More alarmed than depressed," I say. "Have you been feeling anxious?" I look at her, unsure how to respond. "Panic attacks, uncontrollable distress?" I look away from her toward the frosted glass of the window. "Do you feel as if you were losing your grip?" she asks. "I think I need to go," I say. The smile has disappeared, and now there is only a concerned frown. "If you'd like to see someone, a referral?" "I'm okay," I say, getting to my feet. "I'll be okay." "Are you sure?" "I'm fine." "Make an appointment to see me in a week or two." I thank her and leave. I walk back home without delay. I stand in the hall. The house is silent. I'm thinking. I go into the kitchen and open the drawer where we keep the larger saucepans and the rice cooker. Then I close it again. I try the tall cupboards. I open all the eye-level cupboards and look quickly inside each one before closing them again. I open the fridge. Milk, wine, butter, cheese, salad stuff, yogurts, a bowl containing leftover chili that will inevitably be thrown away. In the cellar, I open the door to all the cupboards. I look in the old plastic dustbin I store firewood in. The shelves, nothing that shouldn't be there, just jam jars containing screws and curtain hooks and Allen keys and brass hooks bought to go on the backs of doors that have never been fitted. I climb the steps back to the hall. There are cupboards in the lounge containing LPs that have not been played in 20 years. The cushions on the settee conceal only breadcrumbs, loose change, and the TV remote control that has been missing for 2 days. Upstairs, I check the wardrobes and the airing cupboard. I pull down piles of bedding and towels and leave them in a heap on the bathroom floor. I rummage behind the hot water tank. I look around the landing. The linen basket contains nothing but a few pairs of socks and some underwear. I take the stairs to the top floor and my study. The drawers of my filing cabinet are filled with hanging files overstuffed with papers and manuscripts and press cuttings. I look at the bookshelves. Books, DVDs, VHS tapes, copies of Sight and Sound going back 15 years. There are no gaps on the shelves. There is nothing under my desk except my printer and a box I use as a footrest and lots of fluff and dust-furred wires and cables. I go back down to the first floor. There's an empty wardrobe in the spare bedroom, but that's exactly what it is, empty. I carry a stool in from the bedroom and stand on it so I can see on top of the empty wardrobe, but all I see is empty space. Slowly, I walk downstairs. I open the front door and step outside. I approach the bins. The brown one, emptied recently, contains a couple of wine bottles and several tin cans. The blue bin is 2/3 filled with paper and cardboard. The green one is less than half filled with grass cuttings and compostable bags of food waste. And the gray bin conceals a single bag of non-recyclable rubbish collected from various bins and baskets around the house. It has a drawstring neck, and the plastic tape used to secure it has been tied in a knot. I look up from the bin. The windows of the house across the street return a blank stare. I reach into the gray bin and pull out the bag. I dump it on the drive and bend down to pick at the knot. It won't come, so I press my fingernails into the plastic at the top of the bag and tear it open. The bag is almost full. I plunge my hands into a mass of stained cotton wool balls, disintegrating toilet roll holders and spaghetti and tomato sauce that should have gone in the green bin. There are damp tissues and an empty blister pack of heavy-duty painkillers and a rolled-up ball of my wife's hair. Well, it's certainly not mine. I picture her standing at the sink, viewed through the half-open door, pulling the hair out of her brush and rolling it into a ball between her palms, looking up and seeing me watching her, and then looking away to direct her right foot at the pedal bin. I pick the bag up by its bottom corners and upend it over the drive. Its contents hit the asphalt in a large pile into which I delve, coming up empty-handed. As I'm shoveling the worst of the mess back into the bag, one of my neighbors walks past the end of the drive. She gives me a look similar to the one the doctor gave me. My wife comes home. "What's all that mess on the drive?" she asks. "I was looking for something," I say. "I'll clean it up." I pour her a glass of wine, which she takes through into the lounge, while I locate the dustpan and brush in the cupboard under the sink. I hear the television go on and a newsreader's voice saying something about the situation in Syria, violence in Damascus, calls to arm the rebels. I take the dustpan and brush outside and start clearing up the mess. When I come back in, I can hear a reporter on the news doing a piece to camera. I stow the dustpan and brush and go upstairs to put the towels away and anything else I've left lying around in my hunt through various cupboards and drawers. As I come back downstairs and enter the lounge, I hear another news reporter saying, "The head was removed by police, who are conducting further enquiries." "What's that?" I say, aware of the sharpness in my voice. "Severed head found in a plastic bag in London," my wife says, before draining her wine glass. "Was that an especially small glass you gave me?" she asks. "What?" "It didn't last long." "What?" "That glass of wine." "What about the head, the severed head on the news?" "I don't know," she says. "I wasn't really paying attention. Someone found a severed head in the Sainsbury's bag." "Where?" "I don't know. London somewhere." "Did you see it?" "The head?" "Yes." "Of course I didn't see it. They're not going to put a severed head on the 6 o'clock news, are they?" "Where in London was it? They must have said." "I dare say they did. I wasn't really listening." "What difference does it make? A severed head is a severed head wherever it's found." I grab the remote and press rewind. The details are that a man's severed head was discovered by a woman out walking her dog at 8:10 that morning on the parkland walk between Highgate and Finsbury Park. It was, as my wife had said, inside a supermarket carrier bag. "I wonder if it was a bag for life," my wife says. Onto the screen comes a still image of an empty, regular Sainsbury's plastic carrier bag, orange and lightweight. "Apparently not," she says. "You'd think they'd have used something a bit sturdier, wouldn't you? I mean, those things are no good at all. One medium-sized chicken and you're lucky if you can get it from the shopping trolley into the boot of the car without the bag going." "Is this the last item on the news?" I ask her. "What do you mean?" "Is this the last item, the joke item, the light relief? You think it's funny?" "I suppose you're right," she says. "I don't imagine the owner is laughing. Where was the remote, anyway?" I leave the room and climb the stairs 2 at a time. I open my laptop and go online, logging onto the network rail. I book a ticket, a single, for the morning. It's expensive, but that's too bad. "I'm going to London tomorrow," I tell my wife later in bed. "Are you going to look for that severed head?" she murmurs, half asleep. "How did you guess?" I say, but her breathing has already slowed to a regular pace. I lie there thinking about getting up early and catching the train. I think about taking the Northern Line to Highgate and finding my way onto the Parkland Walk, heading south toward Finsbury Park under the tree canopy, eventually coming across a thicket of blue and white police tape, A uniformed standing guard fielding questions, perhaps, from a female reporter. She'll be in her late 20s, working for a local paper, thinking it may not be civil war in Syria, but it's a big story nevertheless. Her big break. I'll listen in, follow her when she leaves, introduce myself. She'll be suspicious, bound to be. I'll explain that I know something, I have information. She'll be dubious. I'll tell her I can help with identification. I just need to see a picture of the head. She must have seen one or be able to find one. A headshot. Video removed from YouTube. Grainy frame grab. She'll know all about it. She'll have access. Maybe we'll end up in a pub. 2 halves of lager, one left untouched. I'll sense the possibility of the beginning of something. It's no good. I can't sleep. I slip out of bed, reach for my dressing gown, and leave the bedroom. Upstairs in my study, I open the laptop. While it powers up, I turn to my right and crane my neck to look out of the window. The only reflection I see is the bookshelves behind me. I turn back and lean forward over my desk. A middle-aged man roaming the internet in the middle of the night while his wife lies asleep, dreaming perhaps of new rooms discovered in old houses, of a more caring, less distracted husband. I find nothing in the obvious places. A million distractions fail to distract me. I refine my search terms. The first 2 links lead only to black oblongs, dead screens. Across the middle of each one runs a line. This video does not exist. The 3rd line takes me to a page of text, no video. I read the report, which says nothing of interest. I go back to an earlier search term and modify it slightly. I scroll down the page of links, navigate to the 2nd page, click on the 3rd link down, one I have yet to try. The name of the website is not familiar to me. In both the headline and the stand first, I am warned that the video contains graphic images. I reflect on how the meaning of this word graphic has changed over a relatively short period of time. I read a paragraph that explains the context, then scroll down and click on the arrow on the video, which starts to play. I click on the full screen symbol. Beneath a forget-me-not blue sky with scattered puffs of white cloud, 3 men kneel, heads down, on a grassy hillside, hands tied behind their backs. A man wearing an Afghan-style soft cap and carrying an automatic weapon over his shoulder addresses a crowd of men and boys who wait in patient ranks like paparazzi at a premiere. The man in the cap, speaking in Arabic, talks about the men kneeling on the ground, indicating them in turn. In the background, another man waits, a thick-set Rasputin with his long, dark, straggly hair and long beard and black, long-skirted costume. On a sign or word from the man in the cap, the man with the long hair and the long beard pushes the first of the 3 condemned men face first onto the ground. The crowd becomes excited as everyone jostles for the best positions, not only to see what is happening, but to film it on their camera phones. At the same time, the crowd finds its voice. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I turn the volume down, briefly aware of my increased heart rate. The camera on which the video is being shot momentarily cuts out, and when the picture is restored, the man with the long hair is straddling the first of the condemned men and sawing at his neck with a 10-inch knife. The man with the long hair keeps having to stop and start, looking for a better angle. This is no easy task. He saws and he saws at the man's neck, while other necks are craning for a better view and the camera lurches to one side. A shoulder moves into shot and, by the time it is possible to see clearly once more, the job is done and another man lifts the severed head to show it to the crowd before placing it upright, facing forwards, on the dead man's back. It no longer looks real, but nor does it resemble a prop. It exists somewhere between reality and illusion. It no longer belongs to its former owner, but is part of something else now, something more abstract. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Attention turns to the second of the condemned men. He is wearing a blue suit. His blindfold is removed. Immediately to his left lies the first man's corpse. The condemned man does not turn to look, but continues to stare at the ground. The man with the long hair now pushes him forward and then onto his side. He pulls the condemned man's head back and draws the blade across his throat, back and forth like a child with a cello. The knife is not really suitable. A man I haven't noticed before hands him another knife, and he drops the first knife on the grass, which is no longer green. This is a job for a serrated knife, but these knives do not appear to be serrated, and the blood will make maintaining a steady grip on the slippery handle almost impossible. But still he cuts, still he works away at the crimson gash, pulling the head back by the chin, aided by hands from the crowd that pull on the man's arm. Finally, the head is detached, and the man with the long hair places it on the dead man's back just in front of his still-bound hands. Another man picks it up and shows it to the crowd, and then he replaces it on the dead man's back. A boy of 11 or 12, in a yellow t-shirt and blue jeans and a green sweatshirt tied around his waist, approaches for a closer look. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. The video finishes before the execution of the third man is carried out. I click in the top left-hand corner of the window and then close the laptop. My heart is beating fast and I realize I have a headache. I stand up too quickly and have to lean on the back of the chair for support. I look around my study, everything in it, the books, the DVDs, the magazines, my chair, the desk, my laptop, looks the same and yet different. I leave the room and stand on the upper landing gazing up at the skylight and the sloping ceiling, my arms wrapped tightly around my body. I sit down on the top step and stare into the darkness of the stairwell for an indeterminate length of time. It could be minutes. It could be an hour. I re-enter the bedroom and walk around the end of the bed to the window. I open the curtain and stand looking out at the street and the night, focusing and unfocusing my vision. I am still standing there when it begins to get light and my reflection gradually fades. Soon, I can no longer see my face, the look in my eyes. My wife stirs. "I thought you were going to London," she says. "No," I say, "not anymore."